Future Now Show. Brought to you by the Club of Amsterdam.
Welcome, Woody, to the Future Now Show. It's a long time ago, but in the meantime, you landed in Ibiza, right?
Yes, I'm in Ibiza now, yeah.
Fantastic. Tell us about Regenerate X and Contest Learning Tribe, please.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think last time we met was probably with Humberto Schwab, somewhere in Peralada or something, or we were doing a workshop. That's probably 10 years ago or something. So,
that's right.
Yeah, meanwhile, how I ended up in Ibiza, I was living in Barcelona for 10 years. And then I lived in the UK for 4 or 5 years. And actually, when I was living in the UK, I realized that everything I knew didn't work any longer. So, because I was always working in innovation and always, at the forefront of innovation, like inspiring people, always looking for the latest and the newest. And then I went to Singularity University. And actually, when I was in Singularity University, that was in 2011, so yeah, 10 years ago, I realized that, at the speed that things were going with technology, something was lacking there. Yeah, something was lacking, which was basically the soul or the human connection. Everybody was like going like, yeah, and this is going to happen. And we have genetics and data and AI and deep learning. And I was sitting there and I was feeling very uncomfortable actually. But I did not know what to do with it. I understood that, okay, mobile at that time was still not very big. It still had to go like really big, or the best had yet to come. But for me, it was already like, okay, that's now going mainstream. I was looking into other things. And so there I realized that, something was lacking. But then it still took me a couple of years before I actually, could make sense of that. Yeah. So, and that was actually when I was in the UK that I realized that basically everything that I was doing was always on the outside, innovation on the outside, fixing things on the outside, problem solving on the outside. But I realized that actually the next big step is like, I need to innovate myself. I need to start working on myself. Hence, I then went back to Spain and lived a couple of months in Peralada with Humberto, in the village of Humberto. And I did sabbatical there. I disconnected from the internet and basically did this Socratic training with Humberto, which is all about, looking at your own belief systems, your assumptions, your addictions, your traumas. And then I met my current wife, Janai, and she was living in Istanbul, and she was in a similar period in her life. She came out of design thinking. She was running Fjord Design in Turkey and Middle East, and that got acquired by Accenture. But she also realized that something deeper is needed. So, and then we went basically on a personal journey of transformation while we were actually trying to build a new life as a couple. Hence, we ended up in Ibiza because we chose Ibiza as a place where we want to live. Close to nature, close to the sea, where there's a great local community also, and where there's an airport, where you also can still, move around easily through Europe. So we started Conscious Learning Tribe actually when there was when COVID started, when the lockdown here started. Because before that, we were basically working I was working as a speaker, Janai as well. She was doing more workshops. I was doing more talks about the future. And at that time, it was all about the age of consciousness. So I was talking globally, but I also lost a lot of work then. Just in 1 week time, basically all my speaking gigs collapsed. And so we tried to then do what we are good at, and do that online. So then we started the Unconference, which was a weekly conference that we did online with people like Douglas Rushkoff, like, all the people that we look at and look up to and that we work with also, which are in the regenerative space mainly. Yeah, and then hence now we created Regenerate X, because we believe that the next step in innovation for everybody, whether it's in your personal life or in business, is about regeneration. And then I don't mean regeneration of the land like we see in agriculture. Many people think that regeneration is something from agriculture, but it's actually a much broader concept. It starts with actually the regeneration of self, the regeneration of our thoughts, of our thought system. Yeah. Have we ever investigated our thought system? Our thought system is based on a lot of stuff that we have been filled with that is no longer serving us. Yeah. Like a lot of the ideas we have as Western society, as Western, let's say, middle-aged men, are based of like still, extraction, how I can say, sorry, my camera went off. Extraction. The business models are still based on like old colonial models, of like, the first who can take it, then we can, also use it. So a lot of colonial models, and also a lot of, models based on competition, still on the original ideas of Thomas Hobbes, and then later on Adam Smith and all that. And we don't seem to question those ideas so much, because we believe that this ultra competition is creating a lot of growth, it's creating a lot of wealth, but it's also now that we see that all this competition and this winner takes all mentality is very destructive for the planet and is totally unsustainable. So we really need to start looking at new ways of doing things on a systemic level, not just looking at business. Hence, Regenerate X.
Terence McKenna. Nature is not our enemy, to be raped and conquered. Nature is ourselves, to be cherished and explored.
Yeah, Terence McKenna, I'm a big fan of him. He wrote that book, Food for the Gods. I don't know if you have read that, which is an amazing book actually, where he explains of how actually man and man's intelligence actually got opened up by the use of plant-based medicine and hallucinogenics and psychedelic plants and all that. And if you look at the history of how we actually started to understand consciousness and all that, and that we are nature, or can be done with the use of plant-based medicine, or also or actually started in the actual age, that we saw both in Greece with Socrates, Plato, and Aristoteles, and then also in India with Siddhartha and all that. They were all at the same time, and also Confucius in China. It was a period of tremendous, opening up of how we see ourselves and how we see humanity, and also how we actually develop the concept of doing good and being good, and go into a concept of self-actualization and self-transcendence. So I think the concept that we have of especially that we have adapted for the last 400 or 500 years of we are above nature, is actually destroying us. And now we see all the, destructive elements of that. I think before it was, not really visible. Now with the internet, everything becomes visible. Everything becomes, stories we cannot hide any longer. We can, send our trash to Turkey, but then some other people will have problems with it. So we also understand that now everything is interconnected, it's interdependent. So these are big concepts, and it's only by understanding that we are part of nature, like the indigenous tribes, have been living for thousands of years with nature and also using the intelligence of nature to actually live together and co-create together with nature. And I think the whole era of We Are Nature is also very much into this regenerative type of thinking. When I do presentations, I use this slide of like, we have three systems. And one is the ego system, yeah, from the industrialized society, which we have been living for the last 200 years and which is still very active, which is still very visible because a lot of people still function in this ego mentality, competitive mindset, and I need to take it, if not somebody else is going to take it from me. And then in the 1970s, we have the eco mindset, which is all about, okay, we are nature, we need to work with nature, we need to actually do that together. And then on the third part, we have the Seva. Yeah, this slide is actually an inspiration by Daniel Christian Wall, who wrote Regenerative Cultures. And Seva in Sanskrit means selfless service, which means we are nature. We are working together with nature, and we work actually without a proper benefit. We actually work to contribute, to nature. We contribute to the community. We contribute to life. Yeah, life is asking for more life to be lived. And so, but now we are in this area where there's still a lot of eco and ego. And we just at the emergence of this regenerative type of thinking. This is just the beginning. So when I see this whole big clash of ego and eco is also in all the polarization that we see everywhere. Yeah, it's this us against them thinking. Yeah, and as long as we are in this thinking, whether you are right or left, it doesn't really matter. We will not solve anything, because in the end we are all humans, right? We are all coming from stardust. If you know what happens when meteorites fall on Earth, we know that they are coming from billions of light years away. Yeah, and we know more and more in science also that we are all coming from that dust. Yeah, so we come on Earth and then we disappear. We become nature again. So understanding that is a very good tool, I think, to also become beyond sustainable, yeah, and actually regenerative and co-creative with nature.
Cisco Chairman, John Chambers. At least 40% of all businesses will die in the next 10 years, if they don't figure out how to change their entire company to accommodate new technologies.
Yeah, so what to say about this quote? There's a lot to say about this quote. I think first, I think these type of quotes are actually created by technology companies, because in the end, they want us to buy the technological products. Yeah, so, and I would love to see more people, especially on the governance side, that can also see through this type of communication. Yeah, because it's this is digital authoritarianism, I would say. Digital authoritarianism, I would say, yeah. And it's this constant creation of the fear of FOMO, the fear of missing out, yeah. So I need to do this, if not, I'm gonna be out, yeah. And of course, there is truth in that. The technology goes so fast and it goes in such a direction that if you don't follow, you might not be able to actually follow what is happening. Yeah, so I deliberately went out of social networks and all that for a while, and then coming back in, all the algorithms don't recognize me any longer, of course. Yeah, so I need to do a lot of work. I need to spend a lot of time in order for the algorithms to see me again. Yeah, it's not just about posting good content. Yeah, so what are the criteria that we are putting? yeah, for this type of technology dogmas, you know, like this is really like, it's about the ones who have the technology who are in charge. And this winner takes all, yeah, we can see it in the stock market, we can see it everywhere, is creating a lot of damage also. Yeah, there is great use of technology, I don't say that, and even without technology we wouldn't be able to communicate it here. But I think we should also be a lot more asking like difficult questions, like what is happening with all the technology? What do we dump it everywhere? What are the addictions that we are creating to our children? You know, what is the critical thinking that we are, you know, actually learning to our children? Because even in school, there is not really a fit any longer of like what children are actually doing on the internet and what they are learning, which is still old school stuff that doesn't make sense any longer for children today, because now knowledge is everywhere. We had to learn things in our head, yeah, because it was not available, or it was only available in books, or we had to go to the library or be able to buy a book. Now everybody has a mobile phone, everybody has the internet and can look up in all this information for free. Yeah. So for children, it's a different mindset, you know. Why would they have to memorize it if they can learn, if they can just have access to it? Yeah, so we need to learn different things also to children. How they can actually communicate better. How can we communicate non-violently? Yeah, because everything they see on social media is all about fuck this and fuck that and this and that. And I mean, how do we treat each other nicely? You know? Why do we have so many divorces and separations in society? Because we have not learned how to live together. Yeah. So what do we do about all this? You know, so there's a lot of things that need to be learned for children that they are not learning any longer, because the parents don't have the time. They are so taken by work all the time, and our work is not something that you go to do 9 to 5. No, we take it with us all the time. We have emails all the time, in the evening, in the weekends. It's like there's no separation any longer, which can be good or not. Yeah, so it's all about balance. Like, where is the balance that we have as parents that we bring to schools, or that the children get from schools? So, yeah, I would say, you know, there's a lot to do also without technology. Yeah, if you look at, if you are on the internet, for example, if you have a local business, all of a sudden you need to compete with global businesses. Yeah, that's the dogma from Silicon Valley, and all this power comes from Silicon Valley. But then they are eliminating all these local businesses. Yeah, and then you can say, no, you need to go with your time. We had the same with the supermarkets and this and that. But then, you know, I live on an island here in Ibiza where 95% of the goods are being floored in or with boats with containers. Yeah. Because the land is not usable any longer. Yeah, the land is wasted both by industrial agriculture, and second also because people prefer to put a house and rent the house to tourism than to actually grow food. So, but here now, you know, regeneration means we need to regenerate this soil in order to become autonomous and sovereign. Yeah. Why do we need all that food coming here? You know, and it's polluting anything. And they are from brands from America, from China, from where we haven't, I don't know, even know the brands. Yeah. So I see that there's going to be a huge return to local. Yeah. And we can use also technology for that, because by local distribution, also we can, you know, distribute locally here, or even go into different areas, but not like just like the one or the biggest one and the winner takes all. And you see this in every industry, pharmaceutical, food industry, you know, tourism industry, everywhere. But it's up to the people to tell that they have enough of this, or that they don't want to do this any longer. Yeah, and I think we are now on the crossroads of people having enough. Yeah, we have this global raise in consciousness. People become more and more aware of what's going on because we have more and more access to information. Yeah.
World Resources Institute. We will focus on urgent global challenges that must be addressed to reduce poverty, grow economies, and protect natural systems, food, forests, water, energy, cities, climate, and the ocean.
Then on the other hand, we have all the global challenges, yeah, like pollution, the how can I say, the ecological collapse, let's say. Yeah, the damage, like 85% of the land is non-usable any longer on Earth. 85%. Yeah, we can only use it industrials with chemical products. Yeah. So, and then the rest, it becomes deforestation to serve again to industrialized type of, society. And even, cutting trees to put soya because we are vegan is not even the solution either. We need to balance a lot of things out. Yeah. So we live in this extraordinary, wondrous times, but at the same time, very challenging. Yeah. So we have climate change, ecological collapse, democracy breakdown, exponential technologies, all these disruptive innovations, they force us to think differently. Yeah. And I think we are at the verge of basically an entire new system design. Yeah. So, but this is going to take years and probably decades before we are there. And then it will also depend on like what systems that we are in. Can we still use democratic models, or will we go more and more into autocratic models? Because technology kind of favors the autocratic models. Yeah, look at what is happening in China. Yeah, look at what is happening in Russia, how they use technology actually to keep the people at a certain level. Yeah. So these are, I think, the big global challenges we have. Yeah. So I think in my network, in our network, we have a lot of good, great people, social entrepreneurs who are doing amazing projects, who are using technology also, or the blockchain actually to buy back the land in the Amazon, to give it back to the tribes, etc., etc. There's tons of great projects in regeneration also to buy back the land, to train people to actually take care of the land again. So I'm very positive. Now, I think the picture that we see is very bleak, also because that's the news that we get. Before, the news was something that we got in the newspapers and on TV. Now we get it like constantly in social media. So we get an overload of this bad vibes, this bad industry, this bad news and all that. So we need to keep our mind healthy, actually, to, be able to say no social media, not today for me, yeah, or no news for me. When people ask me like, how do you start the change? I always tell them, stop reading social media and the news for 1 month. Don't read any news, don't watch any news, and don't do any social media. And tell me after 1 week, how do you feel? And most people all come back and say like, oh my God, I had no idea, When we can feed ourselves with good news, yeah, and positive action and positive vibration, our whole being changes.
Jada Dualt. When we learn how to become resilient, we learn how to embrace the beautifully broad spectrum of the human experience.
I think resilience is one of those, human qualities that we need to relearn. Yeah, because we have been trained to be submissive, consumer, addictive beings. Yeah, we have been trained to live in comfort. Yeah, so comfort is the ultimate state of well-being. Yeah, without any, I can say, yeah, we can go on adventure and all that, but without any discomfort. Comfort becomes the norm. Yeah, but it's also when you go out now camping, or you go out with children in the forest and you don't have any comfort, humans don't know what to do any longer. So what do you do when comfort is out? So we cannot create discomfort for that many people on the planet. Yeah, it's if everybody is going to get discomfort, which, yeah, I think it's possible in some at some point, but then we need to get rid of ownership. Yeah. If everybody wants to own something and want all this comfort, then there's not enough space for that. Yeah. So we need to find new models also of like, how do we become more resilient? How can we live with less comfort? How can we break out of the patterns that we have been trained in, like being consumers? And if we feel bad, okay, what do? You go and consume something. You go and spend some money. We don't even know how to feel good any longer. Yeah. When we do workshops, most of the time, people are totally disconnected from their bodies. They don't even know how they feel any longer. Yeah. They just can get like, the quick fixes of like dopamine or serotonin or, like different types of, stress hormones that give them, some excitement. But that has nothing to do with, actually feeling good. And also when nothing happens, how can you feel good? Yeah, we need this constant overload for us to feel like that we are actually alive. So yeah, resilience is definitely key.
Victor Hugo, the greatest happiness of life is the conviction that we are loved for ourselves, or rather, loved in spite of ourselves.
This is like the first thing that we have not learned. How do we love ourselves? Now, usually, we have been trained or we have been raised by not loving yourself, or always do something for the other, or do something to achieve something, or do something to become someone. Yeah, there are not really things like how does it make us feel when we do something? What is it that we really want? And I think now more and more we become aware of like the importance of like loving yourself is like shining your own light. And when you love yourself, then that light you can shine it to others. But when we are not loving ourselves, then we always need to look for that love outside. Yeah, and I think this is also what he means, Victor Hugo, in this quote, like despite ourselves, that we need to overcome something, we need to transcend basically that feeling that we are enough, that we are amazing, that, whatever happens in life, it's life. Why do we need to have all that stuff? Why do we always need to, get into all this materialism and all that? There's so many ways to find happiness. Yeah. Find happiness with your own things, your own creations, your own, beloved ones, your community. So there's so many things to do there.
Dalai Lama, love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries. Without them, humanity cannot survive.
Self-compassion. Yeah, I think the first we need to be compassionate about is ourselves. Because what have we learned is like, if we did something wrong or badly or we failed, we blame ourselves. We're the ones to blame. We failed. We messed up. We have all these things to, call ourselves and to tap ourselves, on the I say, sorry, I forgot the word in English. Yeah, to basically, be harsh on ourselves. Yeah. So how can we not be harsh on ourselves? First, we need to love ourselves and also be compassionate that we are not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Yeah. We need to be able to just accept also that life is about, good things and bad things. Yeah. Why does everything need to be perfect all the time? Children now, the only comparison or the only thing they do is compare themselves with others on social media, on Instagram, in TikTok, and everything has to be perfect and beautiful and this and that. But it's okay not to be perfect also. It's part of life. So technology is pushing us somehow in this perfection, in this state of never being enough. So we always strive for something more. We are never happy with something. So we always need to consume something more. And the system in itself knows this. Yeah, so it's this constant struggle between having and being. Yeah. What do I need? Yeah, to actually be happy, or what do I need to have to be happy? It's about this thing about having, acquiring, and then being, like just being good enough, you know. So also accepting the presence. Yeah.
Delali Gereza, creating diverse, equitable, and inclusive environments means more than hiring or advancing diverse talent.
Yes, I totally agree with this statement, because it's a state of mind, you know. It's a mindset, or rather it's a heart set, you know, something that we have to feel in the heart, you know. If we think we are different than others, you know, by color of skin, or by, you know, where we come from, or by origin, you know, then that's a belief system, yeah, that we have been trained into. You know, we are all humans. It doesn't matter where we come from. We have the same feelings of like, we are here to basically, yeah, self-transcend, you know, like to become the best human being that we can be. Everybody wants that, right? So I think we need, you know, to go a lot deeper and be aware of the values that we represent, you know, instead than just some marketing gimmicks that all of a sudden now we are inclusive and we are this and we are that. So we see a lot of, marketing gimmicks on the surface, but then deep down, you know, like there's a lot more work to do, because there's a lot of cultural habits that we have. This is about cultural changes. Yeah, so we, lately I got into a conversation with somebody who was in China, and he said like, my God, everything is going so fast. I don't have any time to catch up, and I don't even understand the different cultures in Europe of like what it is to be French, what it is to be German, what are the differences and all that. And we don't know what it is to be Chinese and all that. So we just take everything for granted, and everybody has to go in the same stream of like, you know, just speaking English. You know, how many languages are disappearing every year? I don't know the number by heart, but it's just crazy. Languages that are disappearing because everybody, okay, we're going to speak all English, and it's a good business language, but at the same time, we are losing also a lot of these things. So I think it's very good to be aware of, you know, creating diversity, you know, equality and inclusive environments. But also we need to be very open to listen to the others. Yeah. Listening is key.
Thich Nhat Hanh. Fear keeps us focused on the past or worried about the future. If we can acknowledge our fear, we can realize that right now we are okay. Right now, today, we are still alive, and our bodies are working marvelously. Our eyes can still see the beautiful sky. Our ears can still hear the voices of our loved ones.
Yeah, so this brings me back to the present and the importance of the present. Actually, there's nothing else than the present. Yeah, everything that is in the future or in the past is a projection. And so this is what our mind loves to play with, because this is how we are used, you know, to compare also. This is where the separation starts, you know. So Descartes said, you know, my mind and then my body, you know. So he separated mind and body. And then everything in science is about this separation. Yeah. So, but the separations is also because we start to think about the future and think about the past. There is some beautiful dialogues between Krishnamurti and David Bohm. I don't know if you know those. They're all available on YouTube. And they have this series about where they philosophize about time. Yeah, so, and actually Krishnamurti's one of his main ideas is that actually thought and time are the basics of all the trouble in the world. Yeah, because everything starts from a thought. Yeah, any trauma is a thought that is relating or projecting to the past, to a past experience, which grows over time, and it can become so big in your head that, yeah, then we explode or we get triggered and we have all this, difficulties. And or even in the future, when we project in the future, I want to be this, I want to be that, or I have to be this, I have to be that. And when we are not that, okay, we become disappointed. Yeah. And what we learn from the Indian masters, and I think Buddhism, is that there's nothing better than the present. Yeah. And so, the present is now, and the present is where we can feel good, where we can do good things. But then, training your mind actually of letting go of that past and letting go of those projections to the future is the big work. Yeah, because the ego is so persistent. Yeah, so you can do a lot of meditation, you can do a lot of breathing techniques, you can do a lot of work on yourself. The ego is very persistent, but just becoming aware that this is going on in your mind and becoming the observer of your own personality and how your mind or how your ego is interacting, because in the end, it's an identification of things. You identify with a persona that you were, that you are no longer, or that you project into the future, that you are not there either. So it will always give you trouble somehow, I would say. Stay in the present is better.
John Perry Barlow. But groundless hope, like unconditional love, is the only kind worth having.
Charming man and a lovely man. I have very good fond memories of that. And I can only agree, like unconditional love is the only form of love. But what is unconditional love? Unconditional love means first unconditional love for yourself. Loving yourself unconditionally means like, you need to get rid of all the hate. You need to get rid of all the things that you don't like about yourself, and you need to embrace them. You need to be aware of your own, perception of self, of your own identity. And then again, what is that identity? Yeah. So, but loving yourself also then can create unconditional love for others. But we cannot have unconditional love for others if we don't have it for ourselves. I think that's one of the basic conditions. We need to unconditional love ourselves, and which becomes more and more difficult for many people. I have this project called Unconditional Man. I don't know if you heard about it, or we just started this. I started this actually 2 years ago. I started doing man circles, because I realized that a lot of men are lacking connection. They are lacking purpose. They are lacking meaning. It doesn't matter in which state they are in their life, sometimes in their 50s, they now all of a sudden you lose your job or you go on pension, and then you still see that, oh my God, I have like another 20, 30 years to live. We live so much longer than our fathers or our grandparents. Yeah. So people go into this huge crisis of meaning, and globally we're all in this meaning crisis, yeah. So, but even younger men also, they have the same thing, because they have been lacking a father figure, or they haven't received the love that they were looking for. And then men in their 30s, they have all these huge problems in their relationships because they are not connected to themselves, and they are just doing things for work, for the outside world. And so everything becomes a problem. Yeah, so a lot of things become problematic. So hence I started doing these circles where we can just listen to each other and speak our truth. And so this has been growing for a group of 20 men to now we are a group of, it's a network of 100 people where we do weekly circles. Now we do also healing programs, we do retreats, we do 6-week cycles with one circle every week with a closed group. And now we're also going to start doing things online. So we're going to actually do that work online, and also for leaders, because I am convinced that many of the leaders, the problem is that they are not connected to themselves. And at some point in life, this is breaking, you know, because you need to be in sync with yourself. You cannot be just do things for others, and like this old paradigm of just like, you know, doing your work and doing this and that and then creating a happy life is not functioning any longer. And it doesn't serve us any longer either. So we need to be able to get back to each other and listen to each other, and then also create new friendships. We did a survey recently in our network, and one of the very fragrant things is that most men say that they don't have any friend, not one friend. Yes, they have many, you know, people they know, or colleagues, or people to go with to the pub or the football, but somebody to really like talk, have a deep conversation about yourself and your life. In the majority of men, they don't have even one friend. And they are all longing for friendship. They are all longing for this deep connection. So this is something that we are looking with on Unconditional Man. And we're probably also gonna create this on a more international level as well. And then organize retreats here, because we know that it's a big thing, you know, it's a big thing of like actually for men to be connected to such groups and all that. And it helps to build new communities. It helps to build them with their confidence, their meaning and purpose.
Jon Kabat-Zinn, maybe the fear is that we are less than we think we are, when the actuality of it is that we are much, much more.
I totally agree with that, that most of the decisions we take and in our society or business are fear-based. Yeah, everything is fear-based. You know, look at COVID, look at everything we are doing. It's all fear-based. You know, so and fear of what? Yeah, for most people, they don't even know what type of fear they have. So we need to be able to connect to our fears. So my wife, she has a very good method that she developed, which is called 5D values. And I can connect you to her if you want. So she actually has a method where most of the people, when they take decisions, fear-based decisions, they are in the victim consciousness, which is 1D level. Yeah. So I am in this mode because I cannot do any better, or I depend on this or that, or, you know, and all that. The second mode is the manifester mode, yeah, which is 2D. Like I become aware of actually what is going on, and I'm looking, or I'm going to try to look for ways to get out of this situation. Yeah. The third one is the channel level. Like actually you can see from that level what you need to change on yourself. And then the 4D level is like you become actually that value, and you can act from that value. And then the 5th level is like you take actions from that level. So she has a whole method about it that she does with leaders, actually, to make them become aware of their default mindset. Yeah, whether it's 1D, 2D, 3D, 4D, or 5D. Yeah, but then once you are in this 5D mindset, it means you are on your highest spiritual level. You're totally in sync with nature and with everything. And then from there you create. You cannot create things that will harm others, things that will harm nature, and so on. So it's a very regenerative method. Yeah. So and I totally agree that we need to move away from the fear-based decision making. Yeah. And most fear is in the corporate decision making. Most fear is by CEOs themselves, because they fear to lose their job. They fear to fail. They fear, you know, to make a bad image or bad impression. They fear so many things. Yeah. So most of the fear is there. If you look at entrepreneurial world, these are much more like driven by and connected to their values. You know, I see what I want and I'm going to go for it. Yeah. Which doesn't mean they have fears also. Yeah. Usually also they have fears. So yeah, in order to eradicate fear, we need to look at the fears that we have ourselves first. You know, what makes us fearful? Why do we take certain decisions? Why do we get triggered? You know, what makes us, excited about things, and then also when we look at fear and when we want to work with fear, we realize that wherever there is fear, there is actually an opening for healing. Yeah, when we start looking into the fear that we have ourselves and we start to address it, we actually open a massive amount of energy and liberation within us and within ourselves to actually do things from a very different perspective and a very different angle.
Great. A lot of things to think about, a lot of inspiration and a lot of courage also, I would say. It's a look forward, which I really like very much. And I hope you have all the success and the support needed on a personal level and the things you want to achieve.
Thank you, Felix. It's a pleasure to be with you and good to see you.
Likewise.
Good luck with your activities. Bye.
Bye-bye.